going on, everyone? Justin again. As always, thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. A little something different for you for today. Cheers, okay? Just finishing up here on a job. Everyone else took off. Gonna go ahead and close up behind. With comments, sometimes it's too hard for me to tell sarcasm between a legitimate question. This one, I'm not sure if it was sarcasm or if it was a legitimate question, because someone asked me if I was gonna do a long-term plier review, like what's next, a long-term plier review. So I'm not sure how to take that. I'm not sure if they legitimately wanted to know what all I had for pliers here, or if they were being sarcastic because I did a couple of long-term videos already. I'll try to post little cards up here in the corner if you guys hadn't already seen those. Anyways, cheers. And here's to me spending time with you guys when I could be drinking beer. All right. Let's just go ahead and kick it off with some of the long ones here. I got so many pliers, man. This little pair right here. It's an old Craftsman, black handled, was supposed to be for like home use. It was in their home use section, right? This was a small pair of tongue and groove pliers. A little itty bitty pair. Handles probably came down to about here. Well, I've had these and they were in the, I didn't cut them down until years later. I actually cut them down to size when I was working over at Chrysler. If you guys that work at Chrysler, you'll remember that on the 6.7 there was this fuel connector recall that they had on the back of the diesel fuel filter canister, right? It was towards the back. So you had to go back there on the rail and you had to unplug this connector. Now we all know that little pocket flathead, because it's got the security lock that goes in that you got to shove over before you can push, and you're trying to wiggle, pull. Sometimes that connector is clocked differently where you can't do that. So you're really kind of either A, better have some damn strong fingers and not arthritis, and not ones that have arthritis, or you better have some way of being able to do it. So I did. I created my own little way of doing it. So I've had those for a decade. Here's a few others that I've had for a decade. Yep, that'll pretty much tie up the decade ones, I think. No, wait, a couple more here. That should cover it. Okay, so two of these I have. Now I had the whole set at one point in time, but these are retaining ring pliers. Specific use when I had originally purchased them was for the transmission courses that I was going through in community college. And they want us to have snap ring and retaining ring pliers. So I picked these two up specifically from Snap-on because we got 50% off, right? So that's good stuff. So I picked those up, and of the 4-piece set or whatever it was, a 5-piece set, I gave all but 2 back to Snap-on for credit. These ones right here. These Mac Dykes, I've had these for a decade. Still got my old driver's license number attached to it and my name. Had to do that because tools would grow feet. Those things have been great, haven't had any issue. Ooh yeah. My favorite as far as looks, I don't know how my favorite is as far as use. I've used it probably a couple dozen times in a decade. More specifically in the beginning, I used it for tie rod adjustment until I found out that they made a tie rod adjustment tool, and if I can find a picture, I'll put it down here in the corner. But at any rate, you use a 3/8 drive ratchet in order to turn the tie rod. Well, I didn't know about these tools within the first couple years of turning a wrench. I only knew what I was learning from the other guys that worked at Sears Auto Center. And most of the time, they would either use this variation of the tongue and groove with the V-notch design, or they would use the Pelican pliers. And we had a Mac Tools truck at that point in time. So 1, 2, 3, 4 items from a Mac, okay? Those are the ones that I originally had purchased. Now this other one, and the reason why it's kind of part of that whole decade set too, and I bought around the same exact time, was for cutting battery terminal cables. So between alignments and cutting wires and whatnot, and then of course the transmission rebuild stuff, that's what I've had for 10 years. Oh, wait. I think there is one more pair here. I'm sorry, I did indubitably forget my pair of 45-degree Mac needle nose pliers that I also bought with that. So that takes care of the decade stuff. Okay, more relevant. Let's go to more relevant here. So I picked, let's see, 1, 2, those are in the category. And these two. Oh, and these. Okay. Those came later. Okay, so then about 6 years back, I picked up this handful of stuff. First thing, these mechanic pliers, right? I got these from Harbor Freight. It's got a locking deal on here. So, and I grabbed some wire. We got the mechanics wire. Let me grab that real quick while I'm thinking about it. And I cannot forget about this. We'll talk about that in a second. But at any rate, you grab you some mechanics wire. Cut a piece off, right? You fold the wire in half basically wherever you're getting ready to wrap it around something. Those of you that don't know how to use these, that's why I'm doing this right now, okay? Those of you that do, skip ahead. Anyways, you lock it on down, and as you pull the plier, it starts twisting. And you can actually twist your little loop around whatever it is that you want to, and makes it nice and tight. You go too tight, the wire breaks. But you use this a lot. This guy on this cylinder head job that I just got done, pretty much wrapping up today, for the exception of one ground bolt towards the back of the block and putting the whole harness back on, he has mechanic wire all over his aftermarket headers and his heat shield that he has. So at any rate, mechanic wire pliers do come in handy. Okay, so I had picked those up when I first started at Chrysler because I knew how handy they would come in. I also had seen these. These were kind of new to me. These were the Milwaukee needle nose. And it was in a VISE-GRIP. And I was like, dude, comfort grip, right on. This is before Milwaukee became a huge thing, right, and popular. Anyways, I bought that, and I did kind of hog out the hole here at the bottom because at one point in time, we tried to slip this like chain hook in it and weld it a bar together so you can use it to pull chain. And I don't know, we were hoping if it was viced on there good, we could use a slide hammer and pop something out. Did not work out, but you know what? They still hold up, they still work. These, I'm gonna talk about these for a minute, man. So Jeff, my gear wrench rep, right? Or my independent rep, he likes to say, but he's a gear wrench truck. More than half his stuff is gear wrench. Any rate, he ended up selling these to me when he was on the Cornwall tool truck. When he had the Cornwall route. So when he had the Cornwall route, I saw these, and these things got these interesting notches in here. And I bought these 6 years ago. Let me just show you a quick couple of video clips here, and we'll kind of talk about it. So like on the cylinder head job here, you can see I've got the upper radiator hose clamp, the lower radiator hose clamp. I've got throttle body little hose clamps. All of these styles, they're called compression hose clamps, okay? And the way these things bite down is pretty damn impressive to me, and they continue to impress me, and I've just loved having them. If you didn't get a chance to really see all that too well, maybe you accidentally fast forward, I don't know. There's your compression style hose clamps. And then of course, this is the kind that everyone ends up putting on their after, which is supposed to be better, right? Because it's, you know, it can tighten it up, holds it in place. You over tighten this, you'll strip it out, it'll be loose too. These I've seen 60-40 split, okay? 60-70% of the time they work again. That 30 or 40% of the time that they don't, and you have to take something almost halfway back apart just to kind of get back to it, you're gonna wish you would have wanted to change it out. So we always change out hose clamps here. Okay, then I picked up these Matco needle nose, the straight ones. I picked up these Matco hose pliers. Those things have been great, not just for loosening up little hoses, but also for electrical connectors as well. So those have helped out. Okay, when I first started just doing this YouTube thing about 6 years back, Jay Young had ended up someone got in touch with Jay Young about this Van Pliers tools, right? And it was another guy, his name was Bruce Allen, that he ended up, I think, working something back and forth between him and Jay Young. One of them had gotten a hold of this guy from Van Plier Tools. Anywho, however it came out to be, This is the only item that I actually have left that I did not give away. And this item here is the flat bill needle nose, and it's supposed to remove extracted screws and so forth. I can tell you this thing works great for little tiny compression hose clamps too, like around vacuum lines and such. I have used it for a couple other things too, but when I tried to use it for cotter pins, I could not get the bite that I wanted to. The worst part about this whole thing is at the end right there, there's just too much flex in the rubber compared to a lot of the other pliers that pretty much goes all the way to the bottom. All right, next recents here. So I guess over the course of the last 3 years is pretty much everything else. So I don't have exact time frames on a lot of this other stuff. So it's just gonna be a kind of show me, tell me kind of a thing here. All right, so you guys probably remember from one of the Cool Tool Tuesday videos that we did, I had picked these up. They were like these monster long reach vice grips, right? You can see for this one, it's got a bit of, it doesn't really have welding slag, but it's got welding burn on it because we've used these from when we were torching something to try to keep it in place. As far as little things like that, holding small things together, they work great. Don't try to put any leverage behind these. I know, you would think because they're long, but no. These things are weak, man, weak. Weak. They're probably the weakest damn freaking vice grip style I've ever came in contact with, but they're handy, okay? I've used them to hold timing belts on the cam sprockets in place. I've used them, like I said, for small things when it came to brazing or welding here at the shop. The boss has got the Miller 211. Look, they have come in handy, but cheap, okay? Cheap. All right, these hot rods, so these specifically like on this Chevy and even some Chryslers like the 3.8, you get these spark plug boots that are like super stubborn, super duper stubborn. And if you're not careful as you're yanking on them by hand, you'll pull that little electrode deal there right off, and next thing you know, you're having to fish around in a bucket of leftover possibly good spark plug wires if you have them, or if you don't, you're either gonna have to try to find how to rebuild it. But if you're unsuccessful in doing it, you're gonna have to wait to get another plug wire set coming on down. And at that point, you might as well just change them all out. Okay, other times I've seen people, I know. I've seen it, and I had made an attempt to, on my own at one point, to use something slightly different. I'll show you. So I did not use these, but I used something similar to this. I just don't feel like running across the shop. These are the Matco long reach needle nose. You can see I've used that one for brazing too, holding shit, right? And then the other one I've pretty much used for fuses and some other hose clamps and such. But there is a pair like this that Shane has that's designed similar to these little Matco hose ones, but in a big long reach edition, right? So I thought since it was big enough and wide enough to go around this boot that I could wiggle, right? No, it tore it up. Don't do that. I'm telling you right now, don't do that. These things right here, these things are definitely a go-to. Okay? These things are definitely on a wish list. If you don't have them, I would say at least put them on a wish list, okay? All right, let's talk about this oil filter Channellock slip joint plier deal here, okay? These things come in handy for like the small Asian ones. I'm talking about Honda gets up there around some stuff. You got the small oil filter. You got to get up there. Someone put it on stupid tight, so it's not like you can exactly get much of anything else on there. But because they offer a different angle and teeth, you do actually get surprisingly damn good grip. This allows you to squeeze it almost all the way down to the point of touching, and it just holds, man. It does. They're great. So I've enjoyed having those. Obviously, if it's on there even tighter than what you can get with this, you're gonna have to use a 3-jaw claw. I'll show you real quick, but we ain't going to go into detail on it. Most of you probably already know or have seen it once upon a time ago. That 3-jaw claw. This thing, freaking money, okay? That thing was every bit of worth its money. And I know, because it was a freaking Blue Point special. All right, getting back over here to some other cool little things that I got going on. All right, so a while back I did this huge KNIPEX haul. I think there was a few that I had found that I would use here and there, and others not so much. So I had taken them home to use for other projects. not to say that I couldn't bring them back and rework them in. But here's some Matco coolant hose pinch off pliers. I like those things. Some people don't. I like them. My boss has an old Mac set. They work for him. That's why I got the Matco ones when I seen them. I do like these KNIPEX. It's almost like an adjustable wrench. Okay, but it's in like a plier form. You get some squeeze action behind it for more bite. I dig it, okay, I really do. We've used it to try to fix our hot water heater over here a while back. I've used it on a handful of EGR pipes that come from the manifold up to the EGR itself. So they're definitely come in handy. And again, they got that nice angle to them. These are more of another one of those styles of like heater hose compression clamps, okay? And the basic concept behind this really, if I can just get into it for a second. Sure. So you find your sweet spot, you pinch and it locks it down in place. These things are freaking cool too. That's if you want to try to reuse it and you don't have to slide it off too far. You just pinch it down a little bit and rock and roll. All right, the next thing now, I've used this twice since I've had them, but that's okay. This was one of those tools I know I wasn't going to use a lot, but they would be here when the shop needed to. So bellows boots, right? On CV axles, tie rods, and things like that. That's all you need to pinch it back down. Okay, so if you can loosen it up without breaking it or damaging it, or if you get a new bellows boot clamp and you can get it lined up and in place, pinch it down. Okay, so those things are great. Another little KNIPEX pickup. These ones I had picked up when I was, I think, I was like probably shortly after I first started here, because Shane had them. We do a lot of oil changes in the morning. Okay, we bang it out first thing in the morning. By around 10, 11 o'clock, we're on to the rest of the service repair stuff. But you usually get like 3-4 oil changes in per person, like at least 3 per person. So you got a few. And so something like this, you got to have a couple of them at least in the shop. Even if there's only 2 or 3 guys doing the oil changes, you got to have them. We got 3 guys, myself, Shane, and Tommy. We're busting out service work first thing in the morning. Everyone's in charge of doing service work, unless we have some no-shows, in which case you just move on to your afternoon appointment. But you want to make sure you got a couple of them laying around the shop. Okay, as I said, we don't need to go into too extravagant detail. I think we've covered this in another video. But at any rate, look, I got some of these Mac pliers. I got them in a bundle kit that I picked up from my boy Harley Adam up there in Maine. He went ahead, took care of me. Okay, I sent him some money. He was able to pick them up for me and send them back west. Been using them ever since. We lost one of them. But other than that, I've been using the hell out of them. There's only a couple of them that I don't get any use out of that I took home, but I use them at home. Okay, getting down to the nitty gritty here. Couple of little monster ones. So I've had these little monster stripper, crimper, 45 degrees, and then I've had these monster, again, another tongue and groove V-notch design option. Look, I like them because of the skinniness of the handle, and overall for what it is that I'm using them for. This one was mostly for like wires, when I was pulling wires out of stuff and trying to fix it or hold things in place while I was soldering them underneath the car when I'm laying on my back, or pulling little fuses and weird little things like that. That's all I really use them for. Oftentimes I even forget I have them and I end up grabbing a different pair of needle nose. So these things, I do enjoy these things. Again, when I can remember that they're underneath the pile of the rest of the green. I use them about several times, I would say probably per month, and they work out okay. But like I said, if I can remember that they're even there, but they are good. The one thing I'll say is, no, I don't use these like a lot of people do with the KNIPEX Cobra style, where they're like, yeah, I'm really biting down on something and cranking on it. I don't use these for that, because I already know in my own head, they're just not going to be strong enough for it. Okay, I already know based off some of the other monster products that I had picked up, the metal quality is not there, so you kind of digress a little bit in what your intention of use is once you've seen what kind of happened with the other stuff. Still enjoy using them, just don't use them as much as some of the other stuff. Okay, these big T-Rex looking bastards here. I got these are Channellock. I picked these up at Home Depot. My #1 reason behind getting these, I think my primary reason for buying these really was because I wanted to have enough jaw width to grab a hold of the bottom portion of like the block and the transmission and try to like pull it in a little bit closer. So if I was kind of lined up, but I needed to kind of scoot it on in, sometimes if you're careful enough, you can grab it and you can just kind of work it in a couple teeth at a time, and then so it doesn't slide back on you. If you're working solo mio, you can literally just hold it there, grab yourself a bolt and start threading it in. The Cornwell snap ring plier set, okay, don't need to go into any elaborate detail. You can tell that I've been using the hell out of these things. I haven't broken any tips off. And yes, originally bought them from Jeff when he had the Cornwell route. Found out later, rebranded Lang, found out that it would have cost me half as much if I would have bought them on Amazon. All right, getting down to the last two, and then I promise we're out of here, man. And then it's freaking home times. These little guys, I think I picked them up off the Matco truck. One side says hose, one side said tube. It's really for like the condenser kind of area, or maybe even some small vacuum lines if you're super, super careful. But you just slip that on there, and as you squeeze, it separates, right? One side bites in, the other side is supposed to push the hose off. Speaking of hoses, here's our last one. So we're talking about these compression style rings. You can see I've got 3 different variants now, okay? Between the Cornwell pliers I pick up, the KNIPEX ones that I picked up, and this Matco set that everyone pretty much has for the most part that I picked up. Each one is different in its own way, okay? This thing has got a cable so you can wrap it around to get to some awkward stuff. So if it's back and tucked in behind the firewall and you can't get to it, but you got enough of a straight shot like this where you can clamp it, it works. Okay. Other times, it's oftentimes faster for me to just grab the Cornwell ones, do what I gotta do and move on. And then like I said, in some weird tricky spots, I just need a little bit more of an angle and I'm too straight on with the orange ones and there's not enough space for this. That's where the KNIPEX ones come in handy. All right guys, so that's pretty much gonna wrap it up for my long-term review of the pliers that I currently have and utilize here at the shop. I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. Hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow with Cool Tool Tuesday, expecting to see those Platinum Tech ratchets and vessel screwdrivers. Again, if I can help you guys save a few bucks by throwing some Amazon affiliate links down in the description. Maybe there's a coupon code for a couple of these items that can save you a few bucks. I'll make sure to do so. Guys, that's gonna wrap it up for me. Cheers to those of you that have your monsters. I hope you enjoyed today's content. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Cool Tool Tuesday. Cheers and deuces.